Ladies and gentlemen, no gadgets today. We are back. You can do this. We're gonna take a classic French soup and turn it into an American onion ring. So how are we gonna take a soup and put it in an onion ring without everything flying everywhere? A little trick called guar gum. First, you're gonna take your onions, just like so, tops, bottoms out. You don't have to be super exact on this. Just get them nice and thin so it doesn't take forever to cook. You got a pan, medium-high heat. We're gonna melt some butter in it. We're gonna take our onions, we're gonna get it in there. So as soon as you get in there and get some heat, drop it down, because caramelization of onions is about low, slow cooking. What does every soup need? Bay leaf, that goes in. And then I wanna also do some sprigs of thyme. Fresh thyme stands up well against heat. It doesn't have to be perfect, because in the end, we're gonna blend this. Now, it's on low heat. You're just gonna let them caramelize. Let it come down, let the onions soften. Let everyone have a little fun. Our onions are cooked down, check it out. See how soft they are? And they're just starting to caramelize, the color's starting to come through, and we're gonna start deglazing. You can use beef stock to do this. If you do, I would take your beef stock, I'd put it in a pan, and I'd reduce it at least by half to concentrate it. I'm using demi-glace, which is a highly, highly, highly concentrated stock broth, usually veal. And I'm just gonna pour in a little at a time. And what this does is this is gonna give us a very intense soup flavor. What we have here is 3 onions, about 4 sprigs of thyme, some bay leaf, and then about a cup of demi. And it's gonna absorb into the onions and then let the liquid evaporate out and the flavor to stay in the onions. Now, what we're gonna do for this last bit is we are gonna bring our little secret in. Guar gum. Guar gum is a hydrocolloid. It's an emulsifier and a stabilizer. Before you go run into the hills and being like, oh my God, chemicals, this is what you find in like organic almond milk at Whole Foods. And like a cornstarch, it's a super absorber, but it absorbs like 10 times the amount of liquid as cornstarch. Why are we doing that? Because if we took this as is and blended it and threw it in a fryer, what we would have is something that when it came back to temperature, it would just completely fall apart. This is actually gonna hold your ring shape under fryer heat. All right, so what do we need to do with guar gum? We actually need to heat it up, right? I'm actually gonna whip in my demi that's still hot to hydrate it. A lot of times when people are working with hydrocolloids and they're like, it doesn't work, it's because you're not properly hydrating it, right? All right, so let's take our bay leaf out. We don't wanna blend that, right? And then we're gonna add the last of our demi. You can see it's already kind of absorbing and solidifying. So next step, we're gonna blend it and add a little thing that makes French onion soup so delicious, an excessive amount of cheese. Our onion mixture, I mean, look how pasty that is. That's great, that's exactly what we want. It's just like nothing left on the bottom of the pan. I have some cheese, 3 onions, 4 sprigs of thyme, a cup of demi, half a cup of Gruyere, because it is a French soup. Don't forget to season with salt at this point. And this part couldn't be any simpler. We're just gonna pulse it, smell it. Oh my God, you can smell this. Come here, is there smell-o-vision? Just like that. Oh, air pocket. I'm gonna just jam this in the freezer. It's not like you're fully freezing them, you're just cooling everything down so that guar gum sets, so that cheese sets a little bit. All those things, like the stabilizer, the thickener, and the cheese, are gonna help it really like hold its form when we're gonna bread it and fry it. Those are in the freezer until they're set. You want it a little bit frozen, maybe even all the way frozen, because as you take it out, it's gonna soften a little bit. It'll be malleable, but it's gonna be easier to work with when it's frozen. All right, so let's build the batter for these. We're gonna do a batter and then a toss in breadcrumb. The batter is gonna help encase the interior as it gets soft, and the breadcrumb's gonna give you that classic crunchity-dunchity on the outside. That's a real word, crunchity-dunchity. Look it up. 1 1/4 cup flour, salt, got some baking powder, not soda. Mixing dry ingredients together. Also have about a cup of whole milk here that I'm gonna put in. An egg. And you can play with it too, like, I mean, this is not steadfast, you know? Just like that. Here's some that are already done. Check this out. Oh wow, this is so great. Like, you can see all the onion in there, the dots of onion, you can see the dots of cheese, you can see the herbs. Got my guy here, coating him. I'm gonna set it down on this wire rack. Not necessarily the most needed process, but it kind of like lets a little of the excess strip off. Seasoned breadcrumbs. How do you make seasoned breadcrumbs? You get plain breadcrumbs and add salt. Like, I could get it more brown, but like, I'm actually like just a little excited about this. That's an onion ring. Oh look, it kind of burst right there, a tiny bit. Look, you can see the soup directly inside. Now for the test. Let's break this open. What do we have? Look at that. As you can see, our batter on the outside here held the encasement, and our inside is a soupy, velvety texture. And we're gonna bite it. Right there. French onion soup in an onion ring with a little help from our friend, foie gras. For more wacky experiments that we barely squeak out to make work, click here.